This episode is about marketing and branding.
And you was actually, really professional and really quite to the point. I was a little bit like, Jagz,
It's me.
give me a break. How many did we win?
We won 2 that evening.
You sure too?
Was it free?
It was free.
Was it free?
I help them along that way through designing for them or doing consultancy for them to help them, the idea in their head to actually make it a reality. There are so many businesses that I see that kind of almost want to save money and design a logo for themselves. And it's almost as if they do what they like versus what's correct for their audience.
So I'm a little bit like shut and jar. No. Whereas Sarah's a little bit more fun, I would say. So she does.
But when you hear the passion and the story behind how you started, where you started, what you went through, and where you are now, that was what made me truly believe that the award that you were given was so well deserved.
Hi, welcome to our next episode, and this episode is about marketing and branding. We've got something really exciting today, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. We're joined here today by Jagz from the Branding Distillery. She's joined us to be our first ever guest, so it's a big honour.
Hi, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're excited. This is
We
exciting
are.
stuff. And it's also, I feel a bit giggly because we do know Jagz, and before we sort of hand the mic over, shall we share how we know Jagz?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we'll do that. So me and Jagz met, and you know I go on and on about the networking and the Newham Chamber of Commerce, but me and Jagz actually met at one of the networking events where we got talking and we connected.
You did?
And then what happened? was that we entered for the Barking and Dagenham Awards, and we then had a judge that was coming to the nursery, but I was not involved in it at all. Sarah did all the application, and then Sarah was like, "This is the one person that is coming to interview you." So I'm in the office. And who walks in? It was Jagz. So I was pretending like I didn't know you. I tried to act like I didn't know her, but really, yeah, I didn't want it to go against us. But you was really professional with how you interviewed me. And you was actually, really professional and really quite to the point. I was a little bit like, Jagz,
It's me.
give me a break. But yeah, so...
And we won the award.
We did. How many did we win?
We won 2 that evening.
You sure too?
Was it free?
It was free.
Was it free?
Very well deserved.
Yeah.
We won the awards. It was a marvellous evening.
It was.
Yeah.
So, yes, and welcome. So, tell me about you. Tell me about the business. We want to know all about...
We've got lots of questions. We've got lots of questions to ask. But yeah, introduce yourself and your role and what you're about.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. So, I'm Jagz, and I'm the founder of the Branding Distillery, but I've been in branding for 24 years. So I look after businesses who need to understand the importance of branding their business correctly from when they start up to then get themselves in the right position for when they need to market themselves. And I help them along that way through designing for them or doing consultancy for them to help them kind of get from the idea in their head to actually make it a reality and something that can be sold or presented to potential clients. And a lot of people tend to start out quite small but have the potential to be very big, but they don't know how to transition between the two, and that's what I help them with.
Wow.
We needed that back in the day.
We did.
We really did.
I was just thinking, like, that's like a visionary. It's like, as you was talking, I could see how you must look at businesses in a different content to the way that we would see.
That forecast.
Yeah.
Of what that could become and how you can develop that. And because we was just speaking actually beforehand of how important marketing and branding is for any business, any form of business, if you don't get it right or you don't do it in the right way, it can make or break you as a business. And we we didn't get the help when 22 years ago, and we are still very much learning all about that at the moment. Something, do you know, as just a little thing, last week actually, this is something that we've been saying for ages, but like our nursery has a Barney Bear, an actual big Barney Bear costume, and last week I was so happy to see on their story on our Instagram page that Barney Bear was out in the local town handing out leaflets to the parents and children, all that. Now, that was just such a lovely marketing opportunity, but again, after all these years, that's something that we've been sort of saying for quite a while of what an impact that could be. But it's during half term, there's children about, they're out with their families, and obviously seeing a big cuddly bear walking around is going to entice the children over. Parents are going to be having that conversation with the members of staff. Leaflets are going to be given out, and it's a really cheap way to get our name out there and a bit of marketing. Yeah. So many ways that you can do it, and it fascinates me. I get really excited about the actual marketing side of things. But yeah, we have got quite a few stories from back of how it is. And so what would you say with a setup of the sort of the first key elements that you need to look at of when you're first starting out a new business?
So I think there's this misconception that a lot of people think that when you start out, the only thing you focus on is the logo. The logo is really important because everything else for your brand stems off of that, but it has to align with what your message is going to be for the next kind of 5-10 years. There are so many businesses that I see that kind of almost want to save money and design a logo for themselves, and it's almost as if they do what they like versus what's correct for their audience, and they miss the point that's really important, is the fact that you are not your audience. Your audience is very different to what you may buy, and if you don't understand the values of your company or what you're going to almost kind of move forward into or create further forward, then you're going to miss, there's going to be quite a big gap between what you decide is correct for you when you create it versus where you're going to grow in. Even within 2-3 years, you might have realised it yourself that what the vision you started off when you first decided on setting up your business is probably very different to where you were 2-3 years down the line. And that's where I have kind of created my business, to help people understand right from day one that there are a lot of things that you have to think about, and it comes down to values, what target audience you may have, where you'd like to be in the years that follow versus the first year. The first year is always the most difficult to try and find yourself, but it's more about where that's going to grow to thereafter, because you will change quite a bit. If it's not after the first year, definitely after the second and third.
So would you say that's something that most businesses then get wrong at the start of, just concentrating on the logo too much and not looking at what the customers want rather than what we would want, not looking at our customers? Because that actually gives me a thought about when we was planning this podcast, and something that Mahika did to us. We had some homework to do, and we had to think about what a young 20-year-old person would get from the podcast, and we had to create characters. And it really did make us think like the audience that would be watching us. And then it's allowed us to be able to, I suppose, capture what we actually imagined, what they wanted. Did that make sense? So we had our characters, haven't we? We've got our 3 characters that we've based our audience on. So that just made me think about that.
It's exactly the same as your business. So when I talk about the logo, a lot of people, again, don't realise actually the name of your company is really important to the growth of how far you could go. A lot of people use their own name as part of a business, but and I did some years ago, but sometimes that can cap you depending on what you're trying to promote or what services you offer. So you have to have it aligned with, again, what type of services you're going to offer, or, you know, some people sell products, but it's all about the longevity of that name. And then from the name, then will come a logo that is representative of, again, the services that you offer. And it's not about, it needs to be appealing, because some of the most successful brands have got very simple logos, but it has to be quite clear on kind of who you are, what you do, but actually your brand will tell the story of that. So the logo doesn't have to tell you everything. I think, again, people think that your logo has to tell you the whole entire story, but it doesn't. That's what your brand does. And they're two very separate. They're very separate in terms of your thought process, but then they have to merge together to create a much longer journey.
And do you know, like, your visions and values? Because we've just we've actually redone our visions and values. So would you say that your vision, because you did mention your visions and values at the start, so would you say that your visions and values need to be woven within your marketing techniques, tools, structure? How would you?
Yeah, definitely.
How would you do that?
Yeah, so when you're marketing your business, and it doesn't matter what you do, if you don't understand the values of your brand and what you're trying to showcase, then your audience never will. So through your marketing, so let's use one value that a lot of people use is about trust. So especially with what you do, where you work with children, parents have to be able to trust the brand in order for them to bring their child to you and then for them to stay. So if you don't showcase that you're a brand that can be trusted from the offset, whether that's through what you're showcasing in-house when they come to your front door, or through your marketing, then they're always going to question whether it's safe for them to bring their children to you. And all of that has to come through quite clearly in a lot of the marketing that you put out, because it's not just about a fun place, it's about a safe place. And probably equally as important is the safety and the fun. But if you're all you're ever showing is the fun, and you're not showing the fact that it's a safe environment for the children, because your audience isn't the child, it's the parent, and that's who you're selling to, or who you're trying to bring on board, and also for them to stay with you kind of long term. It's all about what the parents would look for when they're coming to kind of buy into your brand.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you know, that's really quite fitting, because our old values, visions and values were very much, we were saying, was very much for the children focused, but the new ones that we've put together are very much for the customer, which is our parents, and for the staff as well.
That's right.
The heart of it all is the children.
Yeah.
But exactly what you just said. So it's really just really clicked.
But also your staff are who promote your brand. So if it's not clear to yourselves, then you can't tell your staff, and then your staff can't reassure the parents.
That's exactly what we were saying, wasn't we?
Yeah.
I like that. We're doing it right. We're doing it good. We've got it from the professional there. Amazing. So when you say about the logo, then, so you've done your logo, you've put the work in, and you've got the logo. What would you say would be sort of the next steps going forward? Have you got to go straight into a website? Do you need to just look into social media? What's the next steps that you need to sort of invest in a little bit to ensure that you've got that foundation set up for your business?
So they're all very much hand in hand, and I do respect that there's always this issue of budget at the beginning, but equally the importance comes with everything. So in what I do in my business, everything happens at the same time. They kind of roll off one after the other. You can't have a business that has no website presence, especially in the age we are today. Many years ago, it wasn't as important, and then people went into creating flyers and knocked on doors and things like that. But the world has changed. So you can create a logo and people assume that's a brand, but it's not. The brand is, if I see your logo somewhere, if I go onto the internet and search for you, where do you come up? So normally, even today, like a lot of the time with older generations, they will first look for your website because they need more information. Then they'll see that you're actually someone, again, that they could trust and why they can trust you. Also what you offer, whether what you're offering is what they're looking for. Could be age groups, could be location, could be anything like that, because they may assume that you've only got one site, but actually you might have more than one, which I believe you guys do. And then on top of that, it then goes into, there's no point having an amazing website and a lovely brand if no one knows you exist. So then you have to market it. And again, you can knock on doors, you can drop flyers through people's doors locally, which could still be very important for people who aren't as digitally accessible. But social media is a massive way to go. So then social media is where you then promote, you have a website and kind of your values and what you're offering, and then it just kind of rolls. Goes from there. Thereafter, yeah.
So it does really make me excited. We're going to be really open and honest with us because this is what it's about. We have always been very old school style, and we've got, we really have. And Leah has been really quite, over the last few years, been really quite technically savvy. You really have. But yes, you have.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I'm still catching up with it. I am still catching up with it. I'm not, but what it is so we with the nurseries, like we was very blessed that we was able to run for several years for word of mouth, which was amazing. Recommendations, and which was great. But then that sort of made the stand there that we didn't have a budget for our marketing.
Yeah.
We didn't actually need to, from one month to the next, make sure that there is scheduled time to make sure that we are marketing and doing whatever it is, whether it's in the papers, doing the door to door, whether it was, even we didn't really have, we took years to get a website in place, and it really didn't get managed properly for many years after. It wasn't updated. It was quite old.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a social media page. We just didn't have a social media page. And like, to start with Facebook, this is back before sort of Instagram sort of took over. But yeah, Facebook, we just didn't. And there was you had a few concerns around that, wasn't you? And that might be good to share, because other people may have had the same or experienced the same. Of what was your fears regarding about going social media?
Yeah, back then Sarah was very much in the world of change and how we need to, pivot and get onto that change ladder. But like what Sarah said, we was really sort of stuck in our ways, and we never really understood or went to a marketing expert because money was tight to be able to educate us around the importance of social media. So my fear was, I partly, being in business, any entrepreneur would say that they're in business because they like to be in control of their own lives. That's the reason why, I just read it this morning. That's the many reasons why people do open up their own businesses. And it was the fact that I wasn't going to be in control of what others could say about us. And then the fear kicked in. And I suppose I had to do a little bit more deeper work with myself and knowing our worth and knowing our value. And I felt that we wasn't quite ready to showcase ourselves because there was things that we needed to do behind the scenes to get us to that level so that we could confidently showcase ourselves. And I felt that we wasn't right to do that then. And that was my fear around it. Now, when looking back, I've had to articulate it of the reasons why. But back then, it was a complete, my walls just went up and the fear would just click in. And I was like, no. But when I unpick it, they was my reasons why.
Yeah.
So what would you say, looking at the social media now, it's the best thing that we ever did. But I don't have much to do with the social media, Jagz.
Nor me.
I don't have much to do with it at all. But Sarah, Sarah's very good with visionary and ideas. She's always had little quirky ideas, whereas I'm a little bit like shut and jar. Right? No. Whereas Sarah's a little bit more fun, I would say. So you do give the staff all the ideas.
I do, but well, some of them, I won't take all the credit, but what we do is we have like we have a sort of social media group that I sit in, and we've got sort of two champions from both sites that do the creative work, and they're super good at it. They really are. But again, we're only at the starting block of that. There is so much that we can do. We're not with TikTok at all. You're not on TikTok, are you?
No,
I don't do TikTok, but the nursery is on TikTok. The nurseries are on TikTok, and we actually got. What did we get? We was trending. Is it trending?
Yeah, we've trended. One of them got like millions. It was a lot. Over 2 mil, and then it was going up and up and up. It was just
wow.
And
they got in touch to say about how.
What's that word? No, it's not trending. Is it trending, that word?
I know. When it goes around, it's
viral.
Viral.
Yeah.
Viral.
Okay.
We went viral.
Viral. I love that.
One of our reels.
I love that.
Are we saying it right?
Yeah.
One of our reels. So the girls are doing a marvellous. Our practitioners who manage that, and the managers, amazing. But we've still got so much to do on that. There really is. But that has only kicked off the last couple of years. So we are so behind with it. But we are, like what Leah's saying, we are in the right, but we're sharing a lot more, not just about things of fun, like what you were saying about. It's about support for the parents, knowing about funding, or how to get funding, or fussy eaters, or things about first aid, or things about summer healthy eating things. There's lots of different things that we're supporting families with. So it's not just a pretty web Instagram page to look at.
Yeah.
It's providing some information as well, but we've got lots of ideas, and with that, and like I say, with TikTok, we just let them do what they do with TikTok, because we sort of don't have much for it. But we understand now of how important to be part of that world now.
Yeah.
We can't just rely on the leaflets and a little ad in the newspaper and word of mouth, because times have completely changed, and we do need to move with those times. And there will be, hold our hands, there will be people that we don't tick those boxes, and we might not make them happy, and they might not like us, because we can't please everybody. We can't make it, we can't provide everything for everybody. We might not suit that family or that person, but we're doing a really good job for many other families. And I think that's what we just need to be aware of. Doesn't matter what you do, you're always going to get some sort of criticism along the way at some point.
Yeah. I wouldn't see social media as a negative. It's all dependent on how you perceive it. And it's interesting you said to say you were quite afraid of it, and you had probably borderline anxiety, right?
So
but you're,
I had to go to therapy.
It's not unusual. It's really not unusual. So but the thing that I normally advise even my clients is that you have to try. The longer you stay off it, the longer your business is missing out. And also, people buy from the reality of your brand. So even when I create brands, or when the corporate brands market themselves, if it all looks so pristine, you've also got to nowadays give a human side to it as well. So you have to try it to see what works for you and your audience. And just out of interest, because you said it kind of went viral, what specifically went viral on TikTok? It'd be really good to know.
It was a video that has been trending that the staff and the children then recreated it, which then like a reel of some form, and it went that's what went viral. But do you know what? I really quite like that. And that is something that I do say quite a lot, is that of it, how important it is that we are relatable.
Yes.
You know, and I think that is something even from throughout the whole podcast of, you know, we've got a lot of mums that are juggling, attending work, who work for us, as well as ourselves, and how we try and incorporate that in, you know, trying to make it work. And I think that is something to share on now, because I think that is really relatable on our social media pages as well. I think that would be something to tune into.
100%. Well, again, kind of almost going back to how we met, or how we kind of reconnected, even in the whole journey of being your judge for your award. I may have known you personally or met you a couple of times, seen you around, but when I was judging yourself and the business, the reason why I felt it was so deserved for you was because of your story. And a lot of people don't realise that when you're trying to create a brand, whether you're small or big, people need to understand the story of where you're coming from. So it's very much about storytelling, and it's not about fake storytelling. It's about, if you have a real journey, which you guys really did, that's kind of what sold it for me, because you can put a logo on anything pretty much, and nowadays you've got to be very careful because a lot of people do, and then there is no substance behind that logo or that company, and people set up companies and close them down all the time, which again is where the level of trust kind of comes in. But when you hear the passion and the story behind how you started, where you started, what you went through, and where you are now, that was what made me truly believe that the award that you were given was so well deserved. Because in marketing, that's what marketing is. It's about storytelling. And like I said, it's not always about fake storytelling. The more kind of raw and real you are with respect for your company, the more likely you are to be believed and perceived well. So you said it, Sarah, earlier about you may not please everybody, but the way to look at it is, rather than you may not please everybody, equally not everyone is your audience. You have an audience that you want to captivate. And if what you're offering doesn't resonate with certain people, that's okay, because there is somebody for them. But equally, as long as you are clear on who you are trying to attract and why you're trying to attract those type of people and how you can help them, that's what marketing is about. And that's where marketing is done successfully, because people just assume, well, if I promote my company and I put my logo everywhere, that means I'm branded, and two, that means I'm marketing. And that's not actually correct. It's actually about what makes you different from your competitors, because we all have competitors, right? There are so many people that do what we do in different ways, but the way to be remembered. So marketing is about being remembered, but being remembered for the right reasons. And brand strength and brand recognition comes from that. So this is why at the beginning I said branding and marketing work hand in hand together. You can have a logo and it can look amazing, but if nobody knows who you are and what you do, it's not going to get very far. So it is all about making sure that you are just telling the right story, using the right kind of words, being just real about kind of who you are, what you do, where you've come from. Not with woe me stories all the time. Like, it's more about kind of showcasing the positive side of what you do and the passion to what you do. And then naturally that just attracts people. So, and the other thing I would kind of say, listening to you both, that maybe you may have missed out on, and forgive me if I've got this wrong, but where you've had people who have bought into you through word of mouth, and yes, that is marketing in itself, but if you haven't used that for your own marketing, then you're missing a bit of a trick. You need to showcase why people come back and why people recommend you. and what they enjoy about being there, because we can all promote that I'm great at this and our company is great at that and we offer this and it's all wonderful. But the best words come from the people who've already bought into you. And if you're not using that for your marketing, then you are definitely missing a trick.
Do you know what? I want to go back to, I need to get into work and I'm so excited. You've really given me fire in my belly.
That was just beautiful. Jagz, it made me emotional. That was thank you so much.
Okay.
This episode I'm going to watch over and over again, I think. You're going to learn and take away for us.
Yeah.
Not only our audience, but for us. And there's two things I want to say there. Is the first part that you said is that I say this to everybody, and it doesn't come from me, it comes from Maya Angelou, and I say to people that it's not how you don't remember what somebody says to you. You remember how somebody made you feel. It's that feeling, and you 100%. Said that, and it's literally making me get goosebumps even saying that. Yeah. And that's what sparks that up. Is that memory of how we felt. Then we can piece it all together. Yeah. That's just beautiful. And then what you said at the end, and we've always talked testimonials, written testimonials, and we've only just started to record them. Right. So we have got some on our social media, recorded testimonials, and you're right, because they were so much more relatable, and we chose a family who had a child with SEN, which we showcased their journey with us. And that was really great for our customers to see. If they're looking for a nursery to put their child in, to trust us with their child, they're hearing it from a couple. 100%. And it was just really impactful. But yeah, I'm going to stop there because you just gave us so many ideas. We need to get the pen and paper out. We need to start.
I feel like
visualising.
That. Oh.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. So
it was really lovely.
So flowing on more. There's so many questions that I want to ask. But what would you say if you could sum up marketing? What would you say in a nutshell of what it stands for? In the sense of getting it right. We spoke about some areas of where we've got it wrong and what we could do. But I suppose I'm going to just stay on this just a little bit more, so I could just make you just say I didn't understand. I've only just learned this, Jagz. Yeah. I've just learned this, and I keep saying it to the staff back at. It's just for me, my mind has to click, and then once it clicks, it's like as if it just expands, and then I can run away with it. But it's only clicked that I'm going to laugh at this because people are going to think, really, I am a business owner. But yes, marketing and sales come together. Of course, I've known marketing and sales, but I didn't understand how it flowed in together. Yeah, and that's only clicked, and it's So that's me asking you that question, and it's even like the podcast is marketing. I only didn't realise that until we started to record. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, this is marketing tool. Yeah. Didn't even realise that. Yeah. So, yeah, over to you with that.
So marketing comes in so many different forms. And again, it's about not forgetting the old. So the old is the traditional old school for people like you and me. I come from that, I understand it. Leaflets through doors. But even the bit about that is people forget that there are still people that sit at home and can't get out. So you mustn't get so caught up in the new and forget the old. There is a place for everything. Sometimes things fall off a little bit, like you said about adverts in newspapers. People don't read as newspapers as much in your hand. But sometimes there is a bit of a cycle that kind of comes back. But you can keep certain things and just re-evolve with other things. But when you talk about, yes, the podcast, 100%, it's a marketing tool. There are so many ways in which, again, you could use the same message in different formats. So you could do part of your message on a leaflet, you can do part of your message in a brochure, you can do part of your message in email marketing, where you then send out newsletters maybe, or then there's social media, and then, like you said, there's the podcast. But all it does is, the way I explain marketing is marketing is joining the dots between getting your brand recognised. So again, it comes to what you're portraying as your values, how your staff showcase those values, how the parents receive those values, visuals of how that's then promoted, let's say on site in your nurseries, how maybe you interact with community, and what you do in the community is really important. That's marketing. If you do get involved in community things, local schools, things like that. And marketing, it doesn't have one particular name anymore. I think it lends itself, and I say this purely because of what I do, it lends itself more to brand recognition. And when people recognise your brand, in everything you do, they will see all of your values, and they will either want to buy into it if they were unsure. So they may have heard about you, but they've never used you, and they're still sitting on the fence a little bit, but then they see more and more of what you do on lots of different platforms or media. And as long as everything's consistent and it's not confused and the message isn't confused, you will market your brand the way you need to, and you will build more and more trust. And when you build more trust, then it comes down to people converting into clients or parents, which equals sales. So it's not a direct, if you do X, you'll get X amount of money. Again, it's about making sure that you're trying to attract the same type of client, but in different ways. Because let's say, for example, there might be parents who are of my age, which is 40 plus. There may be parents who are in their 20s, and each age group looks at different things. I may look at Instagram for things. I may actually be very old school and just look for your website and then go through, let's say, a review platform to see, well, does that match? Are you on Google? Can I find you on Google? Can I read anything on Trustpilot? That's marketing for me. So I can just see that other people are talking about you the way you're talking about yourself. Whereas somebody in their 20s could go on TikTok, which as a person in my personal life, I don't do TikTok. But would I flick through Instagram? Yes, but they're more likely to do the whole social media thing. They may watch videos. So a big part of marketing, which you touched upon, Sarah, which is really important, and I think a lot of people are realising how important it is now, is the educational part of your brand. How much do you actually know in what you do, and how much are you willing to share for other people? So even me being here, you know, it's an educational piece to a degree, right? And it's similar to what you're doing with what you're offering, that if you know what you're talking about and you want people to believe that you're coming from a place of passion and knowledge, then that's the way to go. The marketing is that let's come with us on a journey and we'll teach you about certain things that are probably worrying you about your children, or things that we want you to kind of almost look up from us. So you become their tool, as every time they think of, oh, I need to know about this, let me go into their platform and see if they could tell me about it. Or they might just follow you purely for that, because they trust in you. And then you become their little toolbox of information.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're saying that, it's all so coming all fresh in my mind. Is like our social media is what we would like it to become, is a bit of a community.
Yeah.
And so although we are sharing things of the nursery that we might have experienced, celebrated, we also have like highlights and information that practitioners that maybe don't work for us, but practitioners can pop onto and see some information. It might be about activities, it might be about different certain training, the things that we've experienced and we've shared, but also for like what I said to you before, it's about the parents. There might be things that parents might just, like you just said, might be thinking, I really stuck with sort of my menus of what to eat at home, and we've got our certain recipes and things that our children really like, or certain things that's going on in the area that we like to share and show and tag and make sure that we're supporting those little businesses as well. So it becomes then, in the local boroughs of where we are based, we're celebrating them and sharing things of them, but also letting our parents know that we are their toolbox, exactly that, I love that word, that they can dip in and out when they need certain information, and we're providing that. And it isn't just a shiny page of lovely things that's going on all the time.
100%.
And that's sort of what my vision is, that I'd really love it to become, and the girls are doing amazing of we're getting there, we are getting there with that, to become that community group.
Yeah.
I love it. It's really inspiring, this conversation. There's two things that I was thinking when you was talking as well. Is the first thing, it was taking us back to a photograph that we've got when we was in Sarah's back room, and we was going through the yellow pages. And the yellow pages open, and we're literally going through, I don't know what we was doing, but we was doing marketing.
Looking for something,
but the other thing that popped into my head about marketing, something that we haven't touched base on, so how we used to do marketing was to find out like the statistics of birth rates, to see whether, if we're going to open up a nursery, I don't know if you know this, Jagz, but we have had we've opened up 5 Children's Day nurseries. So we have got experience in opening up nurseries and also selling nurseries. So that was something that's been our career. So the first thing we would do is we would market research the area to see whether the birth rate, was it going to be the right time to open up a nursery. We would look at you touch base on that, the location, is it the right location? We'd also look at the other nurseries in the area, how many are there? And we would then cold call, we'd go and visit, pretend we were parents, potential parents. We'd get in trouble.
Role play.
Once we'd get in trouble because as soon as we'd open, and then the nursery officers used to see us at the train, they'd be like, I thought you was a parent. That was part of our marketing, what we did.
Undercover.
Undercover. So that's how we used to sort of do our marketing, and how we would be able to predict that to the banks, and to present our cash flow to say there is a demand in this area. Here, we can show you this demand. And we can say that this nursery down the road closes, opens at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going to open up at 7:30 for breakfast. Gives those parents that commute time. And then we'd say the same in the evenings. We're closing at 6:30. That half an hour difference makes a lot. So that's how we sort of pitched ourselves. That's how we used our marketing to get money. And I suppose that banks really wanted to hear more about that back then when we were showcasing for funds, rather than about the branding and the marketing tool. So that was like, I think that's something that we was drummed in of that way. And we're really good at that. That's our tool. We can do that. That's what shines through us. But this is all what you're talking about, or what Sarah, us three are discussing now, is the new way of marketing. And you've been 24 years in business, so it is us having to pivot, us having to educate ourselves on the different types of marketing. And as you grow your business, and as you go, when you open up another nursery, you don't need as much funds as what you needed beforehand. So that's when you get a little bit, you lose that, you would never lose that skill because it's within you, but you haven't got to really prove yourself to the banks anymore. So that's what made me think when you were waving that in.
What's clicked into my mind a little bit from there is when we first started out and we had our book from the library about how to do a business plan. So, and then part of that business plan process is that you need to do your market research. And you need to do then your analyst.
Yeah.
And that was our first ever experience about, right, what is market research? What does it look like? So when you was just saying exactly what we did, because that was because of when we was looking to say, right, well, how are we going to gather this information? What is the industry out there? Is there a gap for it? Looking at all the different areas and the locations. Where we ended up opening up a nursery wasn't our first choice of where we was actually looking to do a nursery and open up a nursery. It became a little bit of a fate side of things, but there were lots of obstacles along the way. But every single professional that we spoke to would not even entertain us unless we had our business plan. And the key thing from that was the market research, the analyst. Is it correct what I'm saying? The analyst thing. Yeah. You had your analyst, and then you had your cash flow forecast. It was those main areas there of what you needed. So for us, after we'd got those funds and was able to open a nursery, the market side of things, that marketing sort of got put in a drawer and be like, right, okay, we've done that. We've got what we needed. Yeah. And then that's why I think it got sort of forgotten quite a long time in our business, because we didn't feel that it was a key factor in us. We have been extremely lucky. I completely get that, that we've not actually had to have and work hard at our marketing. But
I'm going up that.
Yeah, I know. Because we did do our marketing, but we didn't have budgets and how it is today. We did the old school way, like what you said about the feeling. When parents walked in the door and they had their show round, when it was about the feeling that they got, let me tell you, and I'm going to be quite smug with this one, but any parent that come in and had a show round with ourselves, it would be me or Leah doing the show rounds, we would be our genuine self of who we are, they would walk out and they would book a space. They would book a space there and then. And that happened because they would get that feeling. They needed to get that feeling. And that's what the selling bit was they felt it. They felt the passion, they felt the love, they felt that we wanted this to work and we're going to make a success for this, and are you coming on our journey with us?
100%.
And that's what the selling bit was. So we did do our we was marketing, we was that. Yeah. That's what we were. And that's what I think held us onto it for so long, and we didn't let other people take over, because we knew that we sold our spaces, we sold our nursery, we advertised it, even with the networking. But it's evolved, and we've got to move with the times. We've got to, I like it, I'll keep trying not to laugh, we've got to pivot.
I like how you say
that word. We've got to pivot. So
Before we move over to you, I just want to say it wasn't that we was lucky. We still worked hard to showcase that to the parents. So it didn't come to us by luck or by chance. We actually worked our socks off. We did to get every customer through that door. And what's beautiful now is the two-thing element there. What we did wrong was we did have to keep it to ourselves, because we was a level, we was that level of the business where we did everything. But now each and every one of our key staff do the show rounds and they get the space. They do. So it's like we've rippled that across. But over to you with regards to all of that, what we just said. What do you think?
That's a lot of information, sorry.
That's all right. Were you going to say?
No, I was just saying maybe some key elements of that, because obviously it was a lot of information.
So you did touch upon it, and this experience that you give people. Again, a lot of people get stuck on terminology for marketing. So going back to what you said about when you needed funding, that wasn't marketing, because you weren't marketing to a bank. You were showing your research into. You were almost justifying why they need to give you money. And that's very different to, let's say, a proposed customer giving you money, because they're buying into your brand for a different reason, whereas actually a bank is investing in you. Because the bank wants a return on their investment, right? Whereas, let's say a parent, like I said, wants to know that their child's being looked after, and you're filling a need that they have that, like you said, other nurseries may be able to do, but you need to make them feel comfortable, and you need to make sure they know why you're best for their child or children even. And when it comes to marketing, I go back to what I said earlier, which is marketing comes in so many different forms, and people don't realise that it's not just a leaflet. If I find a leaflet from you or a brochure, or I see on social media that you're doing XYZ, if I can't see real people behind that and the belief and the passion from the people behind it, I'm more likely to question it. So I'll give you an example, a really simple example, which I feel I tell my clients a lot. And I've seen a bit of a change, which is good. But I always say to all of my clients, when you're using marketing in any fashion, whether it's your website, whether it's brochures, whether it's social media, don't use stock images. And do you know what I mean by stock images?
Yeah. No, I don't.
Right. So stock images are images where you buy them from a library.
Yes.
And they're not your people.
Yeah.
To keep it simple. Whereas actually people can tell now whether they're real or not. So if you haven't got images, let's say, in your marketing that portray your environment, so they're just of a nursery, not your nursery, you're not showcasing the experience. So when people come into you, and I was thinking about this earlier actually as you were speaking, which again is another form of marketing, and it's about personal branding. So there is a brand that people buy in, which is your brand over all of your nurseries, which should really be repeated at every nursery. There should be the same level of service, there should be the same feeling, there should be the same kind of quality of everything you're offering. There may be a tweak in certain things to do with, let's say, the area. So there might be slightly different people in different areas, but overall, your brand should be consistent. It doesn't matter where people go. But when you spoke about kind of yourselves doing the show around for quite a long time, there was nothing negative in that, because initially, again, people are buying into you because you are the people who set it up. And until you're big enough to grow into, a massive kind of group of staff, it has to come from you, and people have to know that actually it starts with you, but it also stops with you as well, because you are the people that they are giving their money to, in respect, whether you've got staff or not. And a lot of companies fail, and it's probably good for me to say more about failure than success, not in a negative, but more for people to learn from it. That when you grow quite big and you have a lot of staff, you may be amazing and you might want to give your clients the most perfect journey and the most perfect experience. And the people that let you down are your staff, because you may have trained them in a certain way, but when you leave your site and they're not being monitored, the way that they deliver something may not be in line with your values or your brand or anything like that. And unless you come across that and you're always checking in on that, or they have certain guidelines that they must follow as your staff because they are representative of your brand, that becomes negative marketing. So what then happens is you then lose clients because of the fact that the journey that they were promised or the journey they had with you was not the same journey they had with your staff. And that's something that's really important. So that's why I go back to, it's actually quite beautiful when you start off a business or a company or a service or anything like that, and it starts with you, because the success of that business is only going to grow as long as you're sharing what you did to get that success to your staff, and you explain to them that this is kind of the basic requirement that we have from our staff, and they have to answer answer the phones like this, or when a parent comes in, that this is how they need to feel, or this is kind of what we need to make sure that they are shown, and things like that. And if you don't teach that to your staff, then you can't blame the staff that they're not promoting it correctly. I'll give you an example actually from something that happened just at the weekend. So as I'd mentioned to you before this, I'd had a family wedding this weekend, and I'd gone to a venue, and I turned up at this venue, and there was a gentleman in the car park who was directing us, and he shouted at me as I got out of the car with kind of quite a few things that I just felt were just not necessary. And I went in and I thought, this venue is so beautiful, but actually the experience I've just had, and I've only just pulled up and I'm going to, a really happy occasion, has caused a bit of a problem in me. So then we had this lovely function and it was amazing. And we were coming away from it, and then he was really rude on the way out, not just to me, but also people I was with. My point being is, you can have an amazing venue, you can have an amazing product, you can have an amazing whatever it is. And I'm pretty sure he was not the person that owned that venue. He was there and he was being paid to do a job. And that job was actually really important as a cog to that experience that I had to go to somewhere that was quite joyous. And what I'm saying is if staff are not representing you and what you believe in and what you're kind of selling, to people, then that could be the downfall of your business. And then that is that is the type of marketing you don't ever want.
Yes, it's so fascinating. I love that. And that is one of our big key things, I think, of what has always been quite a concern, I think, over the years. But it's been an exciting journey for us as well with our staff team.
Yeah.
And especially where we're at now, there is only so much you're saying about, as we've grown over the years, there's only so much that we can do, and it's important for our staff team to be able to grow and lead for that success of the company. And it's exactly that. It only takes that one member of staff, that one poor experience, and how that can have such a negative knock-on effect.
100%.
And that's we do a hell of a lot of training, a hell of a lot of support with our staff team for them to go on their own growth of development, of understanding of why that is so important and what that means to them, not just to the company, but for them. And I think that has been something that we've just worked on for such a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've got loads of different stories of highs and lows of that, and different scenarios that's happened with that. But yeah, was there anything you wanted to add with that?
I think you've made it all. Thank you so much, Jagz, because I think you've made it all click. It's like as if you've gone like this, just put it all together. The marketing, just from our conversation. And we're going to have to wrap it up.
Yeah, we could talk all day, couldn't we?
Definitely, we would love to have you on again, especially with the last bit that you touched upon. I think that's something that is in our trajectory, is our objective for Barney Bears to stand alone. And what you said, it starts with us, but it has to end with us.
Yeah.
And that's something that we have learned along the way, that we was so emotionally attached. We would say Barney Bears is our baby, which it was for many, many years, but we've had to detach ourselves from that, because to go on to that next level, we do need that element of detachment, but it is about getting it right. And you really gave us a lot of thought of this episode.
Yeah.
So we really would like to say thank you. But as we round up, it would be great if you could tell everybody where they can find you. I think that we would probably be making an appointment with you, booking you in for sure, because I think there's some things that you could really help us with. And we've got you. And if you could just let the audience know where they can find you.
Yeah, of course. No, thank you. Well, firstly, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And, I never tire from hearing stories, but definitely love hearing yours as well. I knew it before, but you always learn more things about people as you kind of sit, especially in environments like this. So I'm obviously not far from your Barking branch, and I'm based on the A13. Again, the Branding Distillery, you can find me on social media platforms, on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Drop me a little note, or my website. So yeah, always happy to kind of have conversations with people and see if it's something that I can help with.
Amazing.
And watch them grow. That's my passion, is watching people grow and go on and let go of the reins a little bit like what you said. It does start and end with you, but I'd love to say to you both that you are doing everything the way that it should be. It will always be in your heart, and you must never lose that love for it, but you share that love through your staff, and then they share that on your behalf.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah.
And you know, everything you've covered today, although we've touched upon with Barney Bears, I think that there is such key elements that can be supportive in any type of business there, you know, because it just shows you, you know, and you just give an example of that lovely wedding venue, you know, like you can really take away some key things. And should we just end on a little takeaway, do you think?
Yeah, I think it'd be quite nice.
Should we just do one little takeaway each?
Yeah. Can I do mine first?
Go on then. Oh, sorry, I've hit the
Because I'm really, as everybody will know, I'm geeked out. I love leadership, and I just loved what you said at the end. So my takeaway for today is, for it to click with me, is that what you said about that you can ripple that through your staff, even though it does end with us, and that passion will come from our staff. So what I'm hearing is it's about how important it is to invest in your staff, and I'll use the word love, like love your staff, nurture your staff,
definitely
respect, trust your staff, and create a wonderful team.
Yeah.
And I have this little slogan that I always have used since back in the day, and it starts with happy staff equals happy children equals happy parents, which is the customer.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's about looking after our staff.
Yeah, very much so.
And I actually put that on the bottom of an email this morning, actually.
Oh, there
to
you
the
go.
staff team, the decision they have to make. Yeah.
Really important. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Mine would be, just to go starting right from the beginning, and I would say to ensure that you do, now that there's so much support out there, is to reach out to someone like yourself so that you get the right guidance and support, so you're not putting money where is not necessary.
Definitely.
And that you're focusing it into the right avenues to boost you at the beginning, because I think that's always a bit scary of knowing, you know, you haven't got to do it all straight away. And what are the key elements to do at the beginning to get you starting off that starting block? And I think to have support like yourself, just to go, right, okay, let's start off with here, I think is an absolute gem. But because you do need to make sure you invest in the marketing for your branding, it is vital for your starting of your setup of your business.
Yeah, definitely. And also just don't be afraid. I think a lot of people sit in fear for too long, and you've just got to try something. And what might work for somebody else or another business may not work for you, and vice versa. And that's probably what I'd love to kind of close with, is that don't live in fear for too long, because you might miss opportunities that need to come your way. So yeah, I think you're a great example of that, and just continue doing what you're doing, because I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much. I was going to clap as well. Thank you so much.
And we'll make sure everything goes in the show notes, like
we
your
will.
Links to your platforms.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really grateful.
Lovely, and it's a wrap. Thanks for joining us.